two terrific finishes. One to make it 1-1 after Wissa had given Brentford the lead, and one as he got away from Pinnock on the halfway line. Ederson's long ball forward. Ederson's made a couple of important interventions, one in particular from Collins. Otherwise Brentford might have been 2 up. But at half-time, in a thoroughly eventful contest at the Etihad Stadium, it is City 2, Brentford 1. Well, let's go back to the studio. Plenty to talk about, I'm sure. Here's Cal.
Welcome back to Matchday Live. We are live from the Etihad Stadium. Thanks to Alistair Mann and Andy Morrison on commentary. And thank you to you for joining myself, Tash and Paul. It is Manchester City 2, Brentford 1. Let's tuck into the first 45 minutes of that half. Tash, great game of football. Brentford, great account of themselves. What's your assessment of that first half?
I think City were really slow to get into the game. I think we're seeing a slight change in City shape. I don't think Rico Lewis is coming in as much as what he was. You got Gundogan and Kovacic playing quite flat as a flat two, and allowing Grealish to be the outside and Rico Lewis being in the outside. Savinho comes in, Walker stays out. So I think City was struggling when the turnover was happening. So if they lost the ball, Brentford were just picking them off really easily and just being able to switch the ball from being tucked in. So I think it took him a while after the goal. I think it still took City a while to get into the game, but that guy that we all know, the big Viking, keeps just turning up.
He keeps turning up. I mean, it's another 2 goals for Erling Haaland. I think that puts him now on 99 goals in 102 games, 1 away from that 3rd successive hat-trick. We're going to get into all the finishes, but he is an imperious form and such a handful for any opponent, Paul.
He just looks super sharp, super confident, more than what he ever has done. I know we spoke before the show about about him having that rest in the summer, but he looks mentally and physically so good at the minute. And it would have been tough for him coming out there today. You know, we touched on it before the game. He's had a difficult week emotionally, but his 2 finishes are just fantastic. You know, the first one, his right foot. It's just instinctive, you know. I think Andy said in the commentary that it just can't be luck that you're in that position, that the ball falls to you all the time. You know, he's got that instinct that he's got just to be in the right place at the right time, but ready to get his shot off. There's no backlift on it. It's on his right foot, and he always hits the target.
Yeah.
You know, and then the second finish, and I'll probably talk about it in a bit, is just fantastic. He's so clever, and with Pinnock, you know, he's trying to nudge him off the ball, and he just puts his body in front of him because he knows he's wrong side. And then as he's going through, and you know, as a striker, it sounds stupid. When you're 1-on-1 the keeper and you've got a lot of time, they're the most difficult ones.
Yes.
Because you have so many things going through your head. Do I slide it? Do I take it round him? But then his touch and the little dink, it's just fantastic, and he's the best striker in the world.
Yeah, he really is the best striker in the world, and we are very lucky to have him in our club. Let's then work through the goals. Shock start. I mean, I can't remember an Etihad being silenced so quickly. Within 30 seconds, Brentford took the lead. What happened there, Tash?
I think it was just a bit of a mess. I think it was a lot of haste from City's defenders to try and just almost whack at the ball, and I think that's what we saw. You know, Brentford have had a free player back post on 3 occasions so far. You know, City have to be able to pick up that, and unfortunately as a winger, I know you don't want to defend, but Savinho's going to have to track back at some point, because what's happening is where Rico's pushing up so high, Akanji's sliding over, John Stones slides over, Kyle Walker therefore has to come in. Savinho is now having to do full-back role.
Yes.
So that was from the first goal, but they still managed to happen. They just didn't capitalise on it. But the first goal, bit of a mess, failed to clear the ball, didn't get connection, and Visser is just the lucky one on the back post, just putting a header in. Yeah,
and he's had a great start to the season. It was sad to see Visser go off injured at the end of that first half there. Of course, we wish him all the best, and I hope that's not too lengthy of a time on the sidelines. What did City have to change? Because I turned to my dad during that half, and it felt like you were saying, Tash, I don't know if it was tactically the setup or something Brentford were doing that we couldn't quite get to grips with. As we said, I think we found our feet, but they've still been penetrating. Did you notice anything that it was that City couldn't get to grips with, or was it a setup from Thomas Frank or something Pep had missed maybe? I don't know.
I think it's a setup for Thomas Frank. I think I've got to give Brentford credit. And you know, when you see this team sheet, I think they would have pretty much been sure that there was 4 centre backs there, so it was going to be Ayer, Van de Vet, Pinnock and Collins as the back 4. but they've flipped it around. You know, Ayer's playing right wing back.
Yes.
And then the three in the middle of the park are getting on the ball a hell of a lot.
Yes.
And Erling up against their three in the first 15 minutes, he was trying to press but he couldn't. If Kevin went to step into press, they had extra man in the middle of the park, and the front two were so clever. It was a little bit old school when we were playing two.
Yeah.
One was always coming short, another one was always going long. But the one that was coming short, we didn't have the bodies in there to do it. 9 times out of 10 it was Visser that was coming into that space. And because they already had the overload in the middle, and the wing backs played so wide.
So wide.
You know, if wing backs come here, you expect them to play as a 5.
Yeah.
But they didn't. They played as a 3-5-2, and it gave them the extra bodies in the middle of the park. And as I said, the movement of the front two was so good. We said before about Rico possibly coming in there. We've had to go back to a back 4.
Yes.
And to do that as well, and then in the middle of the park, we've had to be Kovacic and Ilkay especially have had to be so disciplined when they had the ball. Once we'd done that and we got to terms with the wing backs and the forward coming short, that's when we started regaining the ball. It's when we started winning second balls and putting the pressure on them again. But you've got to give Brentford credit, because they could have been 2 or 3 up before Erling scores his first goal.
Yeah.
What Thomas Frank did, it caused City confusion. We don't see that happen very often.
Yes.
And you could see, we were watching De Bruyne telling Savinho to push on. So what should have happened? Savinho should have gone alongside Haaland or on the same line as Haaland. So where they've got the 3, Savinho should have been the wide centre-back on Nathan Collins. But he wasn't. So therefore Nathan Collins was always the out-pass.
Yes.
Savinho would then press, and now the wing-back is the out-pass.
Yes.
So Thomas Frank was almost like that, causing that problem, rather than it was City's fault.
Yeah.
It was more credit to Thomas Frank what he was making them do.
Tactically, they were fantastic in that first 20 minutes.
Yes. And I also feel as well their work off the ball, and even if we've seen the end of the first half, their energy levels were great. And again, not something we're probably used to seeing, where teams are actually really bringing it to City rather than that sitting back. You can count on probably one hand how many teams have come and done that.
And they're playing with a bit of freedom. It looks as if Thomas Frank said to him, look, this is how we're going to set up.
Yeah.
Let's see what they're going to do, but we're going to stick with it. But you know what? Nobody's expecting us to come to the Etihad and win. So go out there and enjoy it. And play with a bit of freedom. And they really look as if, I've not seen a team come and play with freedom like that for a long time, as in wanting possession of the ball, the midfielders wanting to get on it, even if we're pressing, the front players running down the channels, one coming short, the wing backs pushing high up. It's as if he's went, go on, nobody's expecting anything, so go out there and
and express yourself. Well, we did manage to start getting to grips with it a little bit. You noticed it when City suddenly started getting back on the ball, and you start seeing the triangles form, and Gundogan and Kovacic popping it about, and it was a little passage of play, and then we got the first goal, and I think it was the De Bruyne assist. It was, and again, great finish from Haaland, Tash.
Yeah, we were up here speaking about it. At what point does it become a coincidence when someone is in the same area all the time? And Paul said it right, it's instinctive, but he's probably doing drills after training, repetition after repetition. It becomes almost then he's meant to be there to sit at the right time. And that's, I think, one of those goals is striker's finish. That's what they would say in the box. And Paul said he's only touched the ball twice. And again, this is a talking point that everyone says. I mean, all City fans, and I'm sure football people that know football, I'd rather have a striker that can score 100 goals in 103 games, or 99 goals, sorry, in 103 games and only touch it twice in a game. I think I'd take that over anything. So that just shows that he's an instinctive player. Yeah,
it was a brilliant finish. Brilliant as well, came from that right-hand side, and I thought Savinho had a great half, definitely in attacking sense. The second goal, Paul, and what I loved about this was we'd seen Ederson play it to Haaland, I think 3 times short into the halfway line. And then that was the first time that he'd gone long. And just talk us through, because it was a great use of his body. And then, as you say, did the finish again.
Well, Pinnock's tried to be clever, because Erling, again, from the majority of this, I know he said he only touched it a couple of times before he got his first goal, but his hold-up play was fantastic again.
Agreed.
Yeah.
You know, and it was pinning Pinnock all the time. And Pinnock's got frustrated with it. So when Ederson's clipped it into him, he's got wrong side, because he's thinking, he's been bullying me, so I'm going to try and nick in front of him here. And Erling just stands his ground and gives him a little nudge, and then he's clean through and goal. So great ball from Ederson. I mean, how many assists has he got for a goalkeeper?
I don't even.
I think he's got more assists as a goalkeeper than I've got in the whole career. But yeah, once the big man's through, you know, as I said earlier, it can be so difficult when you've got that much time and space to think about it. But the little touch to get the keeper off balance, and then the little dinkers. We've seen it a few times this season. And West Ham,
yes,
West Ham as well. And you know, people are saying his trademark finish is that one opening his body out and side footing it in. he's got so many now. So the goalkeepers, he's making them think all the time, but whether it's a dink, we've seen his right foot won the instinctive for the first goal as well. No back left hit, and he's just incredible.
Yeah.
There was, I think Joe Hart was on a sports programme over here in the UK, Match of the Day, and spoke about it from a keeper's perspective, where because of the variety of finishes that he has in his arsenal, and that he can pull them out and be exemplary with them every time. Even as a keeper, you can try and tell him what to do, but he has 4 or 5 options available to him all the time. That's so difficult.
He's always set. You never see him swinging at things off balance.
No.
Whether it's the one with his right foot there, his body's always set to strike the ball. You see some people lash at things and they'll stretch at things. He's in control every time he strikes the ball.
Yeah, it really is frightening. 2-1 though, I mean the game definitely not done. We've spoke about how great Brentford have been, Tash. What do we think we need to see a little bit more from City to obviously try and maybe go and get that extra goal and get that 2-goal cushion?
Yeah, I think for me, I'd probably start looking at, the pockets. I always call it the Kevin De Bruyne run.
Yeah.
So the space between probably the wing back and the outside centre halves, I think City can exploit that a lot more, but we have to have more bodies centrally than we do out wide to do that. Kevin De Bruyne's very good at that. That's what I would like to see, whether it be Rodri that comes in or even Foden. We know how good he is in those spaces. I think that can really hurt Brentford, and I think they'll probably start to change shape, which might then work in City's favour again.
Yes,
but for me, if we can exploit those specific areas, getting down the sides for then the De Bruyne cross into the Haaland area, that's what they like to do constantly all the time. Yeah,
my fantasy would love that as well, because as I say, he scored 2. He's 1 away from that hat-trick. There was some great celebrations as well from our supporters over in Japan. Let's just see how it went down over in Japan. Sean's there on the trophy tour. So also the variety of shirts, I do love that our new away kit as well, Paul, of course, that's synonymous and iconic with your good self. Hopefully we'll be getting a third clip as well of a third goal from Erling Haaland. I look forward to seeing them celebrations, fingers crossed. I think it's just past midnight in Tokyo as well, so thanks for getting that across. We did see, Paul, they have gone in now, but when the players went in at half-time, we were privy to Gvardiol and Rodri going out onto the pitch to knock the ball between them. If they were to come on, what do you think the thinking is there?
I think it's very rare we see that.
Yeah.
And, and Tash pointed out they were warming up 10-15 minutes before the end of the first half. Maybe with Rodri, Kovacic had just been booked before half-time as well.
Yes.
And with it being 2-1, we all know how good Rodri is as well. And then Gvardiol, whether there's a niggle with MD in the back line or not, or whether Kyle or John, with the first game back, coming in, because they've always got the flexibility to be Gvardiol left back and bring Rico across one as well, and Gvardiol can also go in and is comfortable at centre half as well. But I'd be very surprised if there's not a change, because as I said, it's quite unusual for players to stay out at half time warming up.
And I wondered then on the defensive side of things, I mean, you can see Brentford actually looks like they might be making a couple of changes as well down there. We know how much we love clean sheets. We've proud of Bar, I think the Chelsea game, we've been struggling to come by them a little bit. So how will City tighten up and, as I say, maybe stop what Brentford have been doing so well in that first half? I
think what Brentford did, they nullified City's counter-press. So by a counter-press, what I mean is if City have got the ball, they lose the ball, usually they try and win it back within 2 seconds. I think that's what they're not doing. Therefore, then you're at risk of what we said is the counter-attacking behind. So if City can be quicker to the ball if they do lose it, or just keep the ball. Yeah. I know it sounds really easy, but that's how easy it is.
Yeah, that's it. It's simple. Well, we can see there as well, both the players we've just mentioned have stripped up, so it does look like 2 changes for City at half-time.
It's almost as if we know what we're talking about, isn't it?
Yeah, I tell you what, we don't mess around on a match day live.
I've got to give Tasha credit. She called it before I did. I've just stole her thunder there.
You jumped on the bandwagon there. Yeah. Right, so Rodri coming on and Gvardiol. Who's that for? I can't quite work out. Well, Walker's still there, and Stone. So you wonder if maybe it is for Kovacic and Rico, maybe. Yeah, that might, we assume, will be the change. Well, listen, Alistair Mann will have them changes for you. So go tune back into that commentary and then come join us at full time. Myself, Tash and Paul will be digging into all of that. It's Manchester City 2, Brentford 1. Yeah, welcome back to the Etihad. Double substitution for the Blues at half-time.
Joško Gvardiol is replacing Rico Lewis, and Rodri is replacing Kovacic. Now, Kovacic, I guess, was understandable as he was on a yellow card in central midfield. Rico Lewis, though, coming off, and Gvardiol coming on. Sounds like a little bit of a tactical tweak. Alongside me is Andy Morrison. Andy, what do you make of that double change? What are your reasons, do you think?
I didn't see anything in the game that made me think Rico. I did see on set plays. I thought we were hopelessly outnumbered on set plays. Gvardiol gives us another physicality in there. I mean, Rico Lewis was at the far post in his zone, and I think he was marking Aya, you know, who's 6'4", so might be